What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are doing something a little bit different. We're going to be doing a book review. A lot of you guys have been asking me what books I'm reading, what mindset books to focus on, who do I look up to, both in entrepreneurship, mindset, fitness, endurance, all that stuff. So I'm going to start a new series here. We're going to test it out for a little bit. You let me know what you think. But today, first book up on the list is Spartan Up by Joe Sena. Joe is the founder of Spartan Race, and he's one of my favorite founders ever. So we're gonna be diving into the book. I'm gonna share with you a few key takeaways, and yeah, let's get into it. All right, so this book is a mix of Joe's philosophy on what it means to be a Spartan, mixed with a whole bunch of life stories from him, and also what the origin story of Spartan Race was actually like. I would say that my favorite things about the book are the stories that he tells about starting Spartan Race, and kind of the life stories that affected his worldview about how he always takes the hard path in all the things that he ends up doing. The book also doubles as sort of a guide on how to be a Spartan, and he dives into health, nutrition, fitness. I think some of the actual prescription stuff he gives out is probably where the book gets a little weaker. I think where Joe is really, really strong, and where I really resonate with a lot of things Joe says, is when he talks about the stories about how he started Spartan Race just, on his place in Vermont, up in the middle of nowhere, and how he got into endurance sports in general, and why he sees the world the way he does. I think those are the main things that I really, really enjoyed in the book, and I'm gonna share a few of them with you guys right now. Most people disappoint. The first thing that comes up in his book that I really, really took away was that quote: most people disappoint. 99% of people are looking for the easy way out. Most people just want to cruise and get by in life. And what are the 1% of people that aren't willing to do that, that are willing to push themselves, willing to really get after it? What do they have that's different? The two things that those types of people have, he says, is that they're gritty as hell, which I can relate to, and also they're able to delay their gratification and constantly reframe their point of references. If you've run any sort of endurance stuff, you know exactly what this is like. This is constantly reevaluating how far you have left to run, and also just realizing that at some point in any endurance race, things are going to get hard, things are going to be difficult, and you're going to have to deal with it. And when that happens in a race, what do you do? Do you give up? Do you quit? Do you take the easy way out? Do you go home? Or do you keep pushing? And those two things he lists off really early on in the book. I think you see that in every single endurance challenge you take on. The second thing that I really liked about Joe's outlook and framework on life in general is that you can only do mindset work so much before you actually get into your body. This is something that I've talked a lot about, which is that you can't just do all mental work. You have to do physical challenges in order to actually achieve some of the things that you want in life. It's really easy to say you want something, or you're gonna just think positive, but at some point it comes down to what you can do with your body. Doing things with your body not only lets you transform your mind, actually do things, physical challenges that you couldn't otherwise do, but it also puts you into the arena in a way that positive thinking alone is not really going to do it. With a Spartan race, you can't just show up and be like, yeah, I think this is gonna be really tough and I'm just gonna think my way through it. No, you actually have to do the obstacles. You have to run the miles. You have to do the work, and your body's gonna suffer. So one of the things that he talks about is it's not just mindset, it's not just physicality. You integrate the two, you can go farther both mentally and physically to do things you haven't done before. The third thing in the book that I really enjoyed was, and you see this with anybody who's successful, that one of the things Joe highlights is that time is your most precious asset. This comes down to pretty much every single successful person I've talked to and worked with, that once you start realizing money comes and goes, accomplishments come and go, but time's the one thing we can't get more of. Once you start realizing that, you start reframing the problems and the issues and obstacles that you have in your life in a different way. Instead of thinking about all the reasons you can't do something, you think about how little time you have. And then honestly, when you give yourself that framework, that understanding, a lot of the excuses melt away. It just doesn't seem so difficult or so impossible, or even if they do, they don't seem not trying, at least. So when you realize how finite time is, it makes everything else not seem so important. All the hard, difficult, impossible things out there actually start to seem, maybe they don't even seem easier, but they seem more worthwhile going after because we're running out of time. You don't got a lot of it. Fourth thing that I really liked about Joe's book, it's always be testing. He always talks about testing yourself, challenging yourself constantly over and over and over again. And one of the things I like about this is that you're always going to be butting up against the edges of what you think are possible. Like, it's easy to say, hey, I did an ultra marathon last year or 2 years ago, and then just kind of cruise on those accomplishments versus actually testing yourself on an ongoing, regular basis to see how far you can go. Now, this is pretty easy for Joe to say. He runs literally an event company, so he's got some incentive for you to sign up and do a race. But I found personally that some of my biggest mental breakthroughs have been after I've done a hard physical challenge where I just crushed my body. And what I realized about myself coming out of that actually helped enable me to do other things in my business, life, or anything else. The last thing that I liked about Joe's book is that he talks about the use of your body is a privilege. A lot of times you frame stuff like, hey, I gotta go work out, I have to go do this run, and making it seem like something you have to do. And this is something that's helped me personally, both in marathons and ultra marathons, is reframing that into I get to do this, which is really, really fun when you're 20 miles into a marathon and you're thinking, hey, I have legs. I still am able to actually do this. This is something that I get to do. A lot of people don't get this opportunity to suffer in this way. And when you look in the middle of a race and you're looking around and your legs are hurting, your hips are hurting, your feet are blistered, and you realize you get to be here, you're choosing this, and you're choosing to suffer in this way, that makes it so much easier to keep going and keep pushing, because this is not something you're forced to do. You signed up for this, you picked this, and you get the ability to test yourself on a regular basis. One of the quotes in the book is, the use of your body is a privilege, and I think that's spot on and something to keep in mind when you're pushing yourself through hell. All right, so that's 5 of the things I really liked about Joe's book. Like I said, I think the book's really good. It's a quick read. He's got some really good mindset lessons for you in there. The things that I like most about Joe's book are the stories, both from his personal life and other adventurers, endurance athletes, and just challengers in general that he writes about. There's a specific story about a guy named Steve Callahan who was shipwrecked and survived for like 70 days out on the water. And he describes his time on the raft as a view of heaven from the seat of hell. And I think that's a great way to talk about endurance challenges, really anything that's tough, difficult, or impossible. Some of the best memories I have personally are from terrible, horrible things that I would not voluntarily sign up for, but in retrospect, I'm very happy I went through, and they're some of my best memories. And so I think Joe's really excels in there. He's got a couple other books I think he's written since then. All right, guys, so that is the first book review in our series of book reviews. I'm gonna do a few more of these. Please let me know what you guys think. I'd love to hear if you guys have book recommendations, or if you'd like to get my take on a few different books that are out there. I'm gonna be doing ones on business, on endurance, and just mindset in general. So send your recommendations my way. I will be taking note of them and going through them over the next few weeks. If you guys like this video, make sure you hit like to let YouTube know what's up. If you want to see more of these, hit subscribe so you get every single one that I drop. And until next time, keep pushing your limits, do something impossible. Boom.